Hello, welcome to today's super special pronunciation masterclass. I am so excited to be here. Today we have so many amazing tips. Full transparency, I'm also going to introduce you to my Advanced Pronunciation Accelerator program. And of course, I'm going to share a special code with you at the end. But we're going to get you some very actionable tips to help you feel more confident about your English pronunciation. All right, let's pull this up here. Now, first and foremost, let me know in the comments, where are you from? I love knowing where you're from. I've gotten to know so many of you on Instagram, and I love knowing what your language background is because that also helps me give you more tailored advice and feedback. All right, so let me know where you're from. And if you don't know where I'm from, or if we haven't met yet, my name is Tanya Suarez, and I am from New Orleans, Louisiana. My family is from Mexico, so that's why I grew up in a bilingual, bicultural house. So I grew up with Spanish and English as my native language, which is pretty cool. In addition to that, I've also studied other languages. I studied French for 6 years. I traveled around the world. And so understanding, I get it. When I say I get your frustration sometime that you have the language in your head, but then you might freeze, or when you speak, you're kind of correcting yourself, or you're like, "Oh, I wonder if I pronounced that correctly," as you're trying to talk. That can be a lot. Hello. All right, we've got Egypt and Sharif in the house. We have Mauricio. We've got Dominican Republic. I'm loving this. So keep sharing where you're from. And while you're doing that, let's talk about some of the benefits of advanced pronunciation training. So the work that you're doing is amazing because it's going to give you more confidence. Because the more even though fluency and communication is the ultimate goal, I understand that if you're insecure about your pronunciation, that's going to impact your fluency. So the more secure you are about your pronunciation, the more confident you are. And my goal for you is that you feel confident to have conversations because otherwise, why speak another language if it's just going to be in your head? And especially if you're using this for work, it's awesome. Speaking of work, more money. So having more advanced levels of English, having more refined pronunciation is really going to help you be more open to opportunities that lead to more money. This could be more work. This could be being understood. So if you're pitching, if you're job interviewing, if you're leading a team, all of these things lead to a higher quality of life. Another benefit is more fluency. So, like I mentioned before, the more confident you are about your pronunciation, and especially, which is something we're going to do today, when you understand connected speech, that's going to help you sound smoother. The smoother more natural English that you use, the more you'll feel comfortable because people understand you more. And when you have that kind of positivity, it allows you to speak more fluently. Another benefit, more connections. Again, like I mentioned earlier, what's the point of learning English if you don't use it to connect with people, to communicate with people? This is equally as beneficial for work, getting a stronger network, getting to know more people, which allows you to be open for promotions, but also on a personal level, making more friends. If you live in the US, you get to really expand your community. And if you don't live in the US, like a lot of you here, you get to make global friends. Like Sherry, I know you have friends from all over the world because you're always connecting with people using English. And that's really cool. Hello, Brazil. Hello, Colombia. Oh, Colombia. That's right. Okay. Thank you, Mauricio, for reminding me. Now, I'm curious to see if your experiences will overlap with some of the tips that you're going to learn today. So let me know in the comments, what sound do you still struggle with? So for you, what's one or two of what are those American sounds that still make you feel a little insecure? Let me know in the comments. And while you're doing that, it's really important to understand the methodology because the way that you're going to learn with me today, as well as in the pronunciation program, I've created this method from over 20 years of experience. And especially, I know some of you here, you've learned English academically, and that's wonderful. That's a very different kind of structure. When you're at this level, upper intermediate to advanced, when you're using English for work and for real life, You want to use a different approach because the traditional method of learning might not be serving you best to get better results faster, especially when it comes to pronunciation. So, the first thing I work on with every masterclass and today is your mindset. Fluency is more emotional than you think. There are so many stories that we tell ourselves, sometimes lies that we tell ourselves that keep us from being able to grow our confidence and our fluency. So it's really important to address what you're thinking, pivot so it's more positive from a cognitive perspective, from a learning perspective. It's going to make you more receptive to the training so you improve faster. Then is action. Pronunciation is not just, I get so passionate about this because it's not just listening to me or looking at me or anyone. Today and every day, I want you to open your mouth. You'll notice in all the master classes, I always make sure to force you to move. Not only that, but tell you, move your jaw this way, feel the sound here, open the mouth more, close the mouth more, do the lips. Pronunciation is Pronunciation training is like the gym for your mouth. All of these are muscles. And at this level, you're going to realize that any mistakes that you've made, most of you here, you've been speaking English for years. So that's all muscle memory that's been doing the wrong movement for a long time. So it takes patience and positivity. And last, but definitely not least, customization. Something that I'll show you today, and as well as at the end of every masterclass, I show you how to take the skill, the sound that you've learned, and then how to customize and get practice because I don't get to work one on one with a lot of people. So, the reason I designed this program is to give you the tools to get the kind of bespoke high level training I do with my clients one on one. And you can form that for yourself by using AI, by using technology. And honestly, I make it so simple. It's like copy, paste, customize. And I'll show you all of that today. All right, let's see over here. Let's see. Okay, I'm loving these comments. Keep letting me know. Um, Loving the American accent, more of neutral. Okay, excellent. Yeah. And even within the American accent, there are different regions. So, what I tend to, what most of us tend to teach is the standard American accent. There are, depending on if you're from California, if you're from Texas, if you're from New York, there are different regions. And that's what I think makes languages so special. Now, let's start with the mindset. Relax your shoulders. We're going to do some deep dive into pronunciation today. In your mind, as you are doing training at this level of your English, it can feel a little bit overwhelming, especially when you realize. So the feedback I've gotten from the students that have gone through the course, whenever I meet with them, several of them have told me like, "Oh, I can't believe I realized with the master classes that I've been saying those words incorrectly for so long. Nobody told me. I feel so embarrassed." That's the negative mindset. Instead, we're going to flip it. Instead of feeling like there's so much I don't know, or there's so many things I was saying incorrectly and nobody corrected me, I want you to pivot and think, I already know so much. You're here with me. That means that you understand, and most of you follow me on different social media, you understand native speaker level English. That's amazing. A lot of you speak really good English. Most of the people taking the program use English for work. So you're already using English every day. You know a lot. This is just the icing on the cake, right? We're elevating it, we're making it even more delicious. So now that we're more positive, one of the first sounds, I'm already saying we were talking about this earlier, is the TH. That one is really hard for most English language learners because it's not a sound that's present in most languages. On top of that, there are two TH sounds. So you'll notice here I use the IPA symbol. Most of you in the program, you know that I use that a lot. You don't have to memorize them, but they're really good just for recognition or for differentiation because you can check like, oh, okay, that's a different sound. Now, first, let's start with the voiced. So the voiced TH, this one's easy, V and V, right? Voiced is vibration. I don't say that because you need to memorize it. In fact, don't even write it down. Plus, you'll get an email with this presentation after that you can download. It's not about memorizing, it's about feeling and doing. That's the difference between being a student in an academic setting and being an English speaker. So let's practice. So here, we're going to hold the TH sound for 3 seconds because you need to train your mouth and your tongue needs to get used to the placement. So first is the tongue. The trick is if you have a mirror or a phone that you can look at yourself, even better. If your tongue is inside your mouth for the TH, to an American, that's going to sound like a T or a D. This is one of those situations where clarity is always our goal. Sounding like an American, that's great if that's something you're interested in. But being understood, that's my goal for you. So for clarity purposes, I do find that if you don't fix the tongue placement, it will cause a little bit of confusion. So the first thing we want to do is take out just the tip of the tongue, not all of it, but like this, just a little. Now for this TH, all right, hold it with me. Ready? You should feel a tickle and you should kind of feel the vibration emanating from your throat. So it sounds like a bee buzzing. So again, it should vibrate to the point where it almost tickles your lips. Ready? Again. Now we're exaggerating the sound and we're holding it. And we're going to do that as we do the practice. Because again, this is one of those sounds where I can almost guarantee 99% of you mispronounce it. It's a hard sound and it's really easy to revert back to a maybe like a D or a T. So you're training your tongue. Remember, this is the action part. You have to train your tongue to know where it needs to be. So we're going to do really mindful practice here. Repeat after me. Breathe. Good. Mother. It should feel ridiculous. You're not going to hold a TH like that normally, but when you're training, and especially for this kind of sound where you're correcting the mouth placement from before, do it. And this is going to be the same: mother, father, brother. And I'll say it in a more natural speed: mother, father, brother. So this is where when you practice, it's going to be that exaggerated vibration, and it's very minimal when you're saying it naturally. But absolutely hold it for at least 3 seconds and do this for like a week or a month because it's very important. This is one of those really tricky sounds. The next one, this. Remember, repeat after me. This. Now, this is where, to use that word, I give you the tools to correct yourself. So you have me, you see the tongue placement, we're holding it. You know that you're supposed to feel it here and in your lips. Look in the mirror. See where your tongue is. Is it too far out? If it's too far, it's going to sound like that's too heavy. Then this, that's not going to feel natural either. So it's just a little bit this. Good. Let's see, we have here Buenos Aires. Hello, Pablo. All right. The next one we have is unvoiced. So voiced vibrates. Unvoiced, you're going to feel air. So there's no vibration. It's the same tongue placement, same lip placement, but you're not going to feel it in your throat. And the air is going to come out in between the bottom of your top teeth and the top of your tongue. So you're going to use your hand to feel it. Now notice here, breathe, the verb is different than breath, the noun. So let's try it. Breath. So you should feel a light air there. Ready? Thanks. Teeth. Good. So now you know how to check it. When it's got this symbol here, and if you have a doubt about a word that you use a lot, now you know. You look at the symbol. You can use an IPA. In fact, let me pull my favorite site up. You can use anything, but I typically find that this one has really good IPA symbols, and I'll put this in the notes. So that's a good website that I like to use. You put in the word, you select American English, and then you get the transcription. So if you're not sure if a word uses voiced or unvoiced, now you have the symbols Now you have the website and you can use that to check yourself. So with the program and all the training that I do, you get so many tools so that if you ever have self-doubt, you're not by yourself. It's like me being your little voice in your head, kind of guiding you and directing you so you know exactly where to go to get the information that you need. All right, so we've got this one. Now, the result of doing this kind of deep dive training is that you can hear and feel it. The difference is awesome. Even if you didn't quite get the vibration in the air, for example, at least you know that the tongue placement, that's going to make a huge difference. And then as you get better and better with your training, you'll be able to make that distinction between the vibration and the air. So this causes less confusion, not only for you, because now you know, oh, there's two ways to say it. So there's clarity for you in terms of knowledge, but there's also clarity and less confusion for the people that you're talking to. Now that your accent is more clear, specifically that sound, people are going to understand you better. When they understand you better, their reaction to you is a lot lighter. When you get that kind of positive interaction, you feel more confident. So it's a wonderful chain reaction. Now, the other thing that I like to include for every masterclass in the program, this is part of my way of forcing you out of academic mode. I don't want you to only feel like you're improving your English when you're sitting at a desk in front of a computer. I really want you to take your learning out. That's why most of the resources that I have can be done on your phone, can be done on your tablet, because I want you to take English in the real world. And so what I have here for every masterclass, you also get the audio download. So you can put it on your phone, go out for a walk, go to the gym, you're listening to the instructions, there's always pausing, or you can pause it so you can practice. There's something very powerful about taking your speaking outside of your comfort zone and creating an English bubble, an English world. So if you already use English for work, you can apply it there. And if you don't use English on a daily basis, this gives you even more opportunity. Listen to it on your commute. Listen to it when don't just listen and repeat when you go for a walk. The impact of that is really wonderful because remember, this is advanced pronunciation training. This means that anything we're correcting, you're all upper intermediate to advanced. You've been making the same mistakes for years. It, it's going to require really mindful practice to elevate that. So that's why I have these for you. The next challenging sound here is the American R, and it's everywhere. Now, this one, I would say if you're using the R not in the American accent, if you're saying da, 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 like in the tip of your mouth, I would say this is an example where it doesn't cause confusion necessarily, but if you want to really refine your American English, this is one of the letters that makes a huge impact. So let's take a look. What's really important with this one is to train your tongue. And how cute is that doggy? What you want to do with the tongue, you have to be super mindful when you do this practice right now with me and when you do the masterclass if you join the program, because your tongue as a muscle, it's going to want to go back to what it always does when it sees or thinks that letter. So the first thing we want to do is we want to work out the tongue. There are a few other techniques that I show you in the masterclass. Today I'm going to show you a different one. You're going to take your tongue and we need to curl it. But if I just tell you to curl it, it kind of feels weird. And it's think about getting like a six pack or getting biceps. It takes a lot of reps, right? You need to repeat it a lot to make that muscle grow. So what you want to do is you want to take the tip of your tongue and you're going to just gently drag it through the middle and the top of the roof of your mouth. So you're going to follow it like this, push it back, and then drop it. So what this does is it gives you a physical way to make sure so you can check yourself. Otherwise, it's like watching any YouTube video. And it's like, oh, say R, R, R. That's wonderful. But if you have not mastered it yet, it's because the muscle is not understanding what the brain is understanding. So it's very physical, very action, right? So let's try it again. So you're going to take the tongue and you're going to curl it, but you're going to touch the top of your mouth and then drop it. Oh, let's try it 3 times. Ready? R. And now let's say the letter R. Right, good. And do that all the time. If this is a sound that's important to you, and I really think it should be because it sounds great. Also, it's fun. I'm as much a proponent that your accent is part of your identity as I am that accent is part of the identity of a culture. So the more you also learn about the accent of another language, it just makes you feel more part of that culture. And I think that can be a really beautiful thing. Okay, ready to practice? R. So notice here, if you say ar, if you feel the tongue coming back up, let's do the muscle. R, R, R. And the other part of the R is the lips are here, not here. R. The next one, her. This is really good. Okay, so if you're from a language background, for example, Italian and French, typically those languages you have either a very soft or you completely eliminate the H. So this is where you want to work on the H as well. Her. If you speak Arabic or Spanish, your H's are probably too hard. You might say her. So it's less here and it's softer, a little bit more up here. Her. Instead of her, her. Her. Bring the tongue back. Her. Her. Good. Next one. So we're going to pause here. If you're saying ved, notice when you're not doing the American R, the lips are a different placement. So here that also helps you check. Er, er, red. Good. And here you see the diversity in the placement, right? We have the R in the middle, at the end, at the beginning, because you'll notice what I find happens with everyone is you get really good at the American R in a particular placement. And then it gets like I find that when the R is at the end, that's usually the one that people master first. When the R is at the beginning, that one's a little bit harder. So it'll let you know what your strengths and weaknesses are so you can tailor your practice. Now, as you noticed, those are pretty basic words. So the way that I do the training in the program is in the master classes for the technical part, we use high frequency words. So these are going to be usually more basic words, but that you're going to use all the time. So are, her, red. But because this is an advanced program, I want to make sure you also elevate your English level. So one of the bonuses that I have here are virtual flashcards. So what you're going to get with every masterclass that focuses on a different sound are going to be most of them. There are different practices for different ones, but most of them will include virtual flashcards. So you're going to get hundreds of B2 to C2 level vocabulary words, but they're organized in a way, for example, with the American R Masterclass, those virtual flashcards are all B2 to C2 level words that have the letter R. So that way you get to implement the technique that you're doing in the master classes with words that are more elevated. But this is not a test. I don't want you to memorize 100 words. This is designed when you're doing these flashcards, which again, this is where you take the practice out. There, you can put it on your phone with the app. Go to the park. Do it when you're commuting. Don't just study English in one area. I want you to live English. So this is not the standard word and then definition. It's the word with the pronunciation. On the other side, yes, I have the definition, but that's not what I want you to memorize. I included 3 sentences at I think about B2 level because C2 is just unnaturally formal. So I did around B1, B2 level, 3 sentences using that word because I don't want you to say the word arbitrary, arbitrary, arbitrary. That's not going to help you. You won't know how to use it. You won't know how to use it with connected speech. And then you just sound like a parrot. Instead, I gave you sentences because I want you to use it in a sentence. This is a way where you improve your grammar, you improve your vocabulary, you improve your intonation because you've got real life practice. I love these. Speaking of real life practice, connected speech. Before we go into this, relax your shoulders. Excellent. The reason I included this as one of the main sounds that are challenging for non-native speakers is because The one thing most people that come to me tell me is, how do I sound like a native speaker? I want to speak fast like a native speaker. So the first thing I want you to think about is, what does speaking like a native speaker mean to you? And as someone who has learned other languages and travels a lot, I get what you mean. And that can be a little bit triggering to some people. There's sometimes there's a negative connotation to that, and sometimes it's whatever. It's a debate in the language field. But for these purposes, I define speaking like a native speaker as freedom, to be able to say what you're thinking whenever you want, how you want. The other thing is the speed. Usually what people really are asking me is, how do they stop sounding more robotic? Because they sound so robotic and everything's like da 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 da. Even if the English is perfect, it's not natural. So speaking like a native speaker, as I define it, is to speak in the most natural way that's authentic to your personality. Connected speech is a big component. It's so important that every single masterclass, for all the different sounds, I include connected speech practice. This is what elevates your English. This is what makes it so authentic and genuine. So today we're going to learn it. Now, here's one of the results that I had from one of my students. They also spoke, I mean, beautiful English. English was his third language. And I mean, like super advanced, fluent by any test possible. But he sounded very robotic and there was not a lot of personality. So we did really intensive connected speech training, and this allowed him to be smoother, to really bring out his personality. When we first started, he was very serious, very cautious about his English. As he got more into connected speech, it turns out he's a super funny person. He felt so much more comfortable expressing himself. And as you can see here, it led to compliments at work. And that is huge because he works in a multinational company. So this is what I want for you. So, one of the components, because connected speech has many different categories, the two that I focus on the most in the program are linking and blending, because those are the most relevant to everyday speech. Today, you're going to learn about linking, because that is the one that is the easiest and has, it's so relevant. It's everywhere. Once I explain it to you, you'll start noticing it everywhere. So it's really helpful. Linking for connected speech, when a word in English ends in a consonant sound. And I say sound because, as you know, a lot of words in English end in silent letters, like a silent E. So it might end in a vowel, but it ends in a consonant sound. And the next word begins with a vowel sound, you link it. So instead of goal is, you're going to say goal is, Liz, goal is. And here's another great opportunity. Even if you don't know the phonetic symbols, you can kind of guess. And there are a couple of really important things you'll take away from this one, for example. You'll notice that is, the S sounds like a Z. So it's not is, but is. You'll notice that it's not goa, but go. Ooh, go, go. Goal is, goal is. Good. Let's try this one. Repeat after me. My goal is to speak English fluently. Now, here you'll notice that now it's about pattern recognition. You start seeing it. You're like, okay, speak ends in a k, k. That's a consonant sound, and English begins in an E. So speak, speak English. Now, here's a good example of how to know if you're actually implementing connected speech or if you're just speaking faster, because that's where I find people start thinking they're applying it, but they're really just speaking faster. If you want to check that you're actually using connected speech, you should be able to implement the linking even at a slower pace. So it could be, my goal is to speak English fluently. Check yourself. Am I speaking faster or am I linking? My goal is to speak English fluently. And then, so I recommend start slow, make sure you're actually linking, and then go a little bit faster and try to be more natural with it. And that's going to make it way more effective. Now, The cherry on top is customization. So all these things that you're learning today and all the things that you're learning in the program, they're awesome, they're amazing. I've designed them to be high quality, but I wanted to make sure that it wasn't generic. I don't want you to just have information to have information. I want you to be able to apply it to your own life. And thanks to technology, it's so much easier now than it was even like a year or two ago. So I want to make sure that you get the most up-to-date tips. So for customization, I teach you at the end of each masterclass how to get practice items that are relevant for you. So that means you can, and it's templates. It's like copy, paste, customize. I make it so simple for you so that you can replicate it. You can use it for that masterclass or you can use it for anything else. And everyone has a different prompt, which is what you ask, so that you have more options. So let's take a look at this one. All right, for example, here, this is from the Connected Speech Masterclass. At the end, I give you this prompt. Create 15 sentences using nebulous for discussing the economy in a pharmaceutical industry meeting, blending professional and conversational advanced English. So I was inspired by my actual client. He works in the pharmaceutical industry. I knew he was going to have a meeting. And so you want to make sure that as you want to speak more eloquently, as you're maybe experimenting with using higher level words, you want to be able to actually use them in your life. So if you just get sentences off the internet that are random, yeah, you'll get practice, but you won't actually use them. So you want to really niche down, when would I use this word? And then you can copy and paste the template. And for example, here, maybe you have a different word you want. Maybe you don't want to you want to not talk about the economy. Maybe you want to discuss Fashion Week and you work at a textile production company. So you can modify it however is true for you. So let's take a look at the results. So here, what this does is it gives you relevant practice because I want you to not just know hundreds and hundreds of new words. I don't want you to just feel really good about your pronunciation. I want you to feel empowered. And I'm going to make myself bigger here. My whole goal is for you today, as well as with the program, I want you to feel empowered to speak. I want you to feel confident that you can say whatever you need to say and you'll be understood. Notice I didn't say it'll be correct. Being correct and being perfect is not the goal. Being understood, communicating, being authentic, that's true fluency. So here, this is one of the sentences that came up. So now I want to show you how to use the customization and make sure your practice is not only good, but it's great. What we're going to do right now is part of another masterclass and something else that everyone asks me. Everyone I work with, they're like, I don't understand what to emphasize. Where is the emphasis in the word? Where is the stress in the sentence? I have a whole masterclass on it. And this is another thing that I do with all the practice in all the program because it's so important. Emphasis and intonation, that's the rhythm, right? Like that's what makes it sound. It's like when you have a song, right? You have the words to the song. If you have the right rhythm on it, it's magic. If you have the words sung that way, but you have it in a different rhythm, it's going to kind of feel awkward. So think of it that way. It's what completes the magic of communication. And have fun with it. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. So here I want to show you how you take all of that and now you elevate. This is where you get exponential benefits. So we're going to use the connected speech that you've learned as well as emphasis and intonation. So Americans, we tend to speak, non-native speakers usually take one breath, say the whole thought or sentence, and then finish. But the way Americans speak, we do tiny inhales and we break it into chunks. So in pieces, in clauses, if you're using grammatical terms. So here what I did is I broke the sentence up visually so that you can kind of see the different sections. This takes away the pressure of having to say everything in one breath. And I underline moments that I noticed. Okay, here's the consonant sound linking to a vowel sound. So repeat after me. And by the way, we're going to do this 3 times because this is how you actually achieve authentic fluency. You have to find your voice. If you only read something one time, the first time is always terrible. It's awkward. You don't know what you're reading. You're still getting used to the message. The second time, you understand the concept, the message of what you're reading, but you're still figuring out where the rhythm is. The third time, you add visualization. You visualize yourself, okay, I'm in a meeting, this sentence, something I would tell my colleagues. Is it good news? Is it bad news? Like you go through the process of the intonation and then you say it. This is where you start finding your voice in English. This is the advanced technique that makes a huge difference because as you do this over and over again, it becomes more natural. And when you have casual conversations, your voice will be there for you. It's so cool. I've helped so many people and the results are so there is nothing from an educator's perspective. There is nothing quite like seeing someone feel like themselves in English. Like that to me, because somebody who's spoken English for years and years, but then they do this kind of training and they feel they make a joke. They have a powerful presentation. And the satisfaction for me that I get for them and for you fills my heart. Okay, so now we're going to read this out loud 3 times. All right, ready? Repeat after me. Our company's resilience in the face of nebulous economic challenges demonstrates our commitment to long-term success. All right, so that was the first time. Shake it off. Now we've got the posture. You kind of know what it's about. You're getting used to the rhythm. Let's say it one more time. Oh, okay. Our company's resilience in the face of nebulous economic challenges demonstrates our commitment to long-term success. Okay, so now I want the visualization. Now, this we're seeing, okay, we're talking about company's resilience. You're probably a leader at the company. Imagine yourself, you're at an executive meeting. You've got all the big wigs at the table. But this is good, even though it's difficult, nebulous economic challenges. So it's a negative situation, but it's a positive message, resilience, commitment. So the tone is going to be confident. Again, final time. Our company's resilience in the face of nebulous economic challenges demonstrates our commitment to long-term success. Good. So do you see how much better it gets each time? And this is where you can also edit. If the sentences that you're getting for yourself, if they're too long, maybe instead of B2 level, ask for B1. If they're too or if they're too advanced, if they're too long, you can also say concise, short, conversational sentences. So these are all the things I'm going to teach you through the customization section of every masterclass. It's how to get practice that really suits you and your needs for English. Okay, so those are some of the hardest sounds and hardest concepts. I'm so excited to have shared that with you. You're going to get a copy of this training in your email tomorrow. If you're interested in the advanced pronunciation program, I just wanted to briefly tell you what are some of the other things in there. Of course, we have like an hour masterclass about the R and the TH that we went over today. There are also other, I try to make a combination of over my past 20 years, what are the sounds and struggles and specific pronunciation struggles that even my most advanced clients have. And that's how I picked these and curated a training that will take it to the next level for you. So for example, even the ED, that might sound simple, the simple past, but there are 3 ways to pronounce the ED. The L, we have dark L and light L. The T, I'm actually, if you get the pronunciation program today, tomorrow I do a live masterclass every month and you can join to get feedback. And tomorrow I'm doing the one for March and it's going to be about the T because there are 6 ways, I think 5 or 6 ways to pronounce the letter T in American English. So this is again, it's so cool because once you know it, everything is so much, it just clarifies everything. In addition to technical sounds, I also have concepts that will help you refine the American accent. For example, American reductions, intonation, because the American rhythm is different. You know, every not just language, but every culture. So like British English is different than Australian, than South African, than American. So this will help you understand that better. Things like disappearing syllables, silent letters. For example, one of my favorites, even at the most advanced levels, I find that non-native speakers all tend to pronounce the W in answer. So they'll say, and maybe you say this, answer, answer. The W is silent. Sir, sir, answer, answer. So those are those little moments, and that's a high frequency word that you're probably making mistakes that people aren't going to point out, but they're really simple to correct and to say with confidence. And the bonuses, of course, so many bonuses. In addition to the master classes that you have there, I have live master classes every month. And you get access to bonuses like the virtual flashcards, other supplemental practice. You get access to 3 other courses that I have, so that when you finish it, you still won't finish. There's still the monthly classes, but when you've completed the master classes that are available, you have even more material so that you always have tools and resources that will help take your fluency to the next